Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your favorite show that brings your Wednesday night to life. We know that Wednesday can be a very uninteresting day, and that's why we're here to make it happen for you. Now, tonight on your favorite show, Men, we are talking about secrets. I know you expect us to talk about secrets that men keep, but no, we're going to talk about the secrets that women keep. Should they be keeping secrets in the first place, or maybe should they just bear it all? Like in this case, we're going to talk about an illegitimate child. If a woman has, for whatever reason, gotten herself into a situation where she has an illegitimate child, should she bear it all and tell her husband, or should she manage the situation by keeping quiet? Gentlemen, welcome to the show. The good thing is we don't have any guests here because we are all members of this show, including those who are wearing certain party colors.
They're representing.
Very well.
PP, FDC, NRF, UPC.
It's a full thing.
Everything
is represented. And Haji Khalifa is also in the house.
Yeah, we can see.
Petero Khalifa.
Now, gentlemen, today we're going to talk about secrets. Are there good secrets and bad secrets? Colin, let me start with you. Not that you have any, but
yeah. Not that I have a lot of secrets. No, I absolutely believe in secrets. I believe that people should live their lives like onions, just be peeled back layer after layer. The more people know you, the more people should know more about. The rule to getting to know you should be that the more time people have spent with you, then the more things people get to know you. I think that when you expose all of yourself to people the first time, you stand a risk. And so therefore, because of that, I think that there's a role for secrets to play. But there is, in human psychology and human interaction, secrets also continue to give you a sense of mystery and attractiveness. They make people want to know who you are, what your secret is. Although the thing that drives people to try and find out what your secrets are is so they can expose them. But just looking at it from a sociological and psychological point of view, people who tend to have secrets are admired, even sought after. People want to get to know them because people are drawn by that sense of mystery, by all the missing plot holes in their life storyline. So when you find a guy who's easy to read, you can tell, this is his progressions of his life. People who have secrets generally have abstract storylines. We're intrigued by them. We don't know what it is. And often that drives, interest. But in relationships, I think that, I don't know. I think you have to agree on it. You have to say that my personal rule is there are things I'm not going to tell you now. And there are things in my life that I said to my wife, I said, look here, there are things I'm going to tell you after 5 years. There are things I'm going to tell you at the end of our life.
And she
didn't like it.
End of life.
But also, to be fair,
we have triplets from the house girl of 40 years ago.
Those are not my kids. No, those were not your kids.
So there are things like, but I think it's also about agreement. And that sort of keeps the peace.
Right.
Knowing that there are certain things you don't know.
Now, okay, don't you think that, and I'll start with you, Banji, the more secrets that are kept, then the more, what's the word? Because one lie gives birth to another lie. A lie never gives birth to the truth. And when you're keeping secrets, that's the absence of the truth, which in other words is a lie. Don't you think it's just building more and more problems?
Now, you think around the 1930s, I'm going back to history, a certain leader in Europe, I think was harassing a particular race, which for Uganda's sake we could say a particular tribe, but it was a race. And one of the religious people then found a way of protecting these people who were being killed. Because they could run to the churches, and when the soldiers would go there, they would say, no, we have not seen the Jews here. But when the Jews are hiding. So they called it a white lie. Some lying is really necessary to keep the peace and to keep humankind. Yes, of course, when you keep a secret, it's not that here I'm divided. Because when you keep a secret, there is one rule. That if you are keeping a secret, then that secret, you must go with it to the grave.
Yeah.
That's the point of it being
a secret. You must go with it to the grave. And that's why someone said that he has faced his secrets. Some will come after 5 years, some after 10 years, some until the end of life. That is the grave.
Yeah.
So Madame will never find out. And again, he used the issue of the onion. You know, human beings are like onions. As you know, the one who peels the onion is the one who gets the tears. Okay? So certain secrets, as you peel this onion, are not for a pea who is seated at the other side, but is for the Chris who is very near. So certain secrets, probably if you have to tell, you should tell to only those who must know.
Must know.
So
the ones who must cook them.
Yes, the ones who must cook. In that way, then you keep the harmony. Now, of course, one fundamental reason that people give about, you know, keeping secrets and then telling lies is that they want to keep the peace. So if you have to keep it a secret, I go back. You must be able to keep it until you die.
Yeah.
And then the lies that come with that secret, you must be able to remember them until your old age. So that the story is consistent from the first day to the last day.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Question. Now, here's a situation. You're a young man.
I don't think, like, this guy has so much beard.
He's a young bearded
He's a young bearded man.
Haven't you watched soccer transfers recently? Tell you a guy is 20 and you're like, wow,
No way.
No way, that guy is 40.
No. So, Al, you're a young man. You're in a situation where your young love, you meet this lady, you're excited, then she comes and tells you, oh, you know what, I'm pregnant, and you're like, wow, great stuff. Now, after a couple of years, there's this guy, okay, who's your son, who doesn't, for some reason, doesn't look very much like you, but these things happen. Everybody starts saying, oh, he must look like his mom. Then Colin comes around, and his mom insists that he should be the godfather. And you start noticing that the child walks like this, okay, and always looks at people like that. And you start noticing the resemblance between them and Colin. Now, would you want to be told the truth?
Wow. Okay. There are various scenarios here. First of all, I don't believe that omitting is lying. So when you mentioned something about the lies and what, when you omit something, it's not a lie. You've just omitted it. If I talk to you and I tell you, and I say Mr. and I don't say P, I've omitted the P, so there is no lie. So let me continue.
There's lying by omission.
No. When you omit,
Not in his world.
when you omit, when you omit, you're not lying. That's
You're just
to
not
me.
completing
You're just
the
not
truth.
complete. Yeah, you're not completing the sentence.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm a young man and someone comes to me, one, I believe that when you're young, I'm going to be very honest and very objective. If I'm being selfish, I would want to know. I would want to know. I would want the girl to tell me. But I'm not that kind of person. So I would, personally, if it was me and I was a young girl and Banji was the young man, hey, I don't wear my underpants on top of my trousers. I keep my underpants inside. You raise the child until you want to find out. Hey, go do your tests and what's on. To me, as in, that's why it's you see, your laundry is very important. This is why it's very important to keep your laundry to yourself. So you may come and reveal to this man, hey, do you know that? I had sex with Colin and hey, we got a child. After 5 years, Banji is no longer interested. Wants some sharp girls. He leaves me, but he holds my secret. he holds. That's the most important thing. I think you talked about something that you have to keep the secret around. Hey, you see that circle? It keeps eating up other circles, and other bubbles keep coming out and what. So I believe if you are the core of the secret, make sure the secret you have utmost control. You see, the ratio of you ever getting married to this young man is like the best chances, 49 to 51. Make sure 51% is yours. You have it, because if 51 is with the other party, you're going to just mess yourself up. You're going to have your secrets out there. That is me not being objective. Of course, every man would want to know this child is not mine. I believe in a world where women are more or less a bit of crooked and stuff like that, whereby you never know what she has done behind your back. You have women telling you that I have twins. This is yours. This is not yours. How we see those scenarios? Women come up with funny ideas to tell men, and foolishly men believe.
Okay. I just before you invite Chris, I want to sort of comment on what Albert has said. A couple of years ago, Oliver Mtukudzi was contracted by the government. He was doing what you call conscious music. And one of the songs he was singing about was, "Why do our children look like our neighbors?"
Okay. Yeah. Now, Chris, entitlement to knowledge. Before we talk about that, don't you think that a man literally deserves to know whether, and then take a conscious decision from there, whether to stay with a child or not? Because I come from the school of thought that at the end of the day, the father of a child is not the one who sires the child, but the one who raises the child. But shouldn't it be, as a man, shouldn't it be my decision?
So recently I read a post, and it was about a kid who could not speak. But the first time they say a word, the people gather around to see what's this kid saying. Say, "Grandpa." And as soon as they mention grandpa, they hear grandpa is dead. So then the kid is quiet after that. Next thing they say, they're saying something, they gather around, says neighbor. The neighbor dies. So, they're like, this kid, every time this kid speaks, there's a problem. So the kid starts saying, everyone is right. But before they could get all out, because they didn't want to hear, says daddy. All right? Now the father of the house was petrified.
He's
I'm going to die, oh my goodness. And then it so happens to be that the wife says, "No, you don't worry. You're okay. You're fine." And in the morning they found the driver dead at the door. So sometimes it's good to hear these things. Because you see,
That's true.
no, because bad news.
Chris, are you becoming a philosopher?
He is a serious philosopher.
Bad news is not like wine. It doesn't get better with time. There are certain things which you just need to know. So you deal with it, right? If there was some philandering, you're going to be annoyed. What? After you kick the walls, break the windows, you come down and say, okay, now, what do we do? Because sometimes you are attached to this little baby who is in your house, and it's not their fault, right? And maybe sometimes you get angry and part ways. Whatever it is you decide, I really think that everyone needs to know what's up, because I can tell you, in these Kampala houses and Ugandan houses of ours, people have got things going on. But when you find two people, you see there's a scripture that says, "Shall two walk together lest they agree?" So there are people who have agreed on things. You hear the thing, you're like, oh my goodness.
You, in your mind, it's...
You're like, you cannot do that.
Yeah.
But they did it.
Yeah. And they live...
And they live in harmony. For them, they said, okay, this is our thing.
We'll figure it out.
And they do it. These days, before we had this modern day saying surrogate moms, people would, when the wife has a problem, they do that Abraham thing.
And they
What's
will
the Abraham thing?
With Haggai, before Isaac
You
come.
need to read your Bible a bit more.
You
Now
know-
we are going into a break.
Wait,
We are here at
I
the
haven't
Pearl of
said
Africa
anything.
Hotel, and we are talking about secrets, especially the ones that women keep from men. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. In case you've just joined us, we're here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel, and we are
Discussing
talking about
Abraham.
secrets with a special reference to the secrets that women keep from men. Now, how much should a man know, and how should he deal with it? Now, just like the Abraham story that you now know, question is, are we all primed to deal with the truth? Especially, and I need us to be honest here, as men, can men handle the truth?
So, when Banji was talking and when Chris was sort of wrapping up the last episode, the last session, I just sort of kept thinking about how this is a true story about a young man who was being raised. He was being groomed to Okusikire Chika. He was the heir to his grandfather. It was at the coronation when they were supposed to transfer they went
power.
to the cultural site to transfer the leadership of the clan to him, that the spirits said that this is not a you know, you guys keep laughing, but I don't know why this is hilarious. So the spirits refused.
Come on.
I'm telling you.
The ancestors.
The ancestors said this is not our child.
Yeah.
The mother fainted. The father was beside himself. He had never heard of this. You see, I don't want to say it. In a lot of homes, people are raising children who are not theirs. In a lot of homes. And it's the reality. Because, you know, Peter has a nose that's slightly like, you know, like ours, you know. He comes across, you know, you look at the kid for so long, you forget.
Yeah.
He looks like a child of the home. And when you think about it, I guess in a certain sense, people would rather not know. And so the hard cold facts are that people would want to know. But what does knowing entail? Knowing entails you encountering a new set of facts. It's finding that the world isn't flat, that it is actually round. Knowing changes how you feel. Most people say it won't change, but it changes. A child who you've loved for 10 years, and then you find out something existential like that, it changes how you feel about them. In the smallest ways. And that changes how your love for them or how you express that love for them. And finally, whereas we can stand out here and extol the virtues of knowing changes how you feel about the person who's kept the secret, because the bad news isn't like wine. The longer between the action and when you find out, you're singing, so wait, 30 years? And you couldn't, you know.
That's why it's good to say it in 30 minutes.
And
That's how long you feel betrayed. And I think that those three things sort of affect how
you
people
take
react.
it.
But my position on this is that men are not built to be strong. They're not. Men are built to be physically strong. They're not emotionally strong. And I think that most men would not handle the truth, because if they could, women would have been telling them.
You know, I want to speak from what I said. You asked, can men dare stand the truth? And there is one thing I always joke about with my colleagues. This secret, how many other of my colleagues know it? Does Colin know? Albert? Chris?
So it's
then
an
you?
ego thing.
Now, because if you guys know, then the chances of me stomaching the truth is low. Because now I will say, so I am naked before the public. Everyone
For
knew.
my peers.
My peers knew. All along they have been laughing at me. But if it is still a little bit of covered, you know, nakedness varies. If it is a little bit covered, then I think personally it would be it would be a bit different.
See, you're just assuming. You're just,
but
that's an assumption. You're assuming that if you get to find out, you and your wife will agree never to tell.
No.
Or never to what.
That's what I'm saying. Because if I find out before P and Colin, then it will prepare me that even if they find out, I am already aware. You know the shock, you are seated in a bar and the man tells you, you guy, you are posing here shooting us around. Someone shot
Around somewhere.
in your compound 10 years ago. Yeah. Chris, imagine that. So I think on this one I would go with Chris and say, however bad this news is, however bad this secret is, bring it on the table. Yeah. Then I make a choice. But do I stay with you or do I leave?
I do not agree. Why I do not agree is this. You see, once a secret comes out, P, let's say we have something going on, me and you, just as bad, best buds. We're like, hey, Pete, I tell you, once it comes out, my secret comes out, it's only a secret. It ceases to be, it's okay, it ceases to be my secret. So you see, I believe that if this woman, if this lady is able to stomach this thing and die with it, let her die with it. I believe, see, what you don't know doesn't kill you. Because very many men, you're on the 15th floor, they call you right now, hey, Haj Khalifa, hey, Mr. P, you know that your daughter is not yours. These glasses are not so thick enough for you not to jump out. You call me empty. So, you see, news, you may say news is not, it's bad, it's what, and let me tell you, men, men with certain, you see, certain things are very delicate, like a child. They're very, you may disagree, they're very delicate.
I just want to add something. So I think that it is unfair for us to discuss this without, so in certain, and at the point of, contradicting myself, at the risk, there are certain conditions where you hear certain stories. And there was just no way. I mean, we are always reading these stories online. Something happened, there was great difficulty. The real father of the child is just a person of no means. Mr. P is here, he's a Haji, he's got resources, got access. And it just ended up happening like that. You were the guy who could provide for the child. And knowing that you wouldn't have, but without knowing it, you've given the child a wonderful foundation, a great future. So there's that possibility. So I think that the hardship of the circumstances that caused the person to lie are something that you can consider. But the other thing is when you think about what Albert is saying, can guys really? Because there's that social evaluation, and we've been talking about it.
So you guys, I think that for me, there is a point of departure that comes from are men strong enough? So there's this school of thought that says men are weak. Colin alluded to that
We've been
earlier.
called the weaker sex before.
Emotionally weak. No, men actually have never been referred to as a weaker sex.
Emotionally?
It's actually the women. No, seriously. But here's the thing. So we say men are weak when it comes to sex. I mean, I couldn't help it. I saw her, she had a slit, I saw the thigh, then I went. Okay? Same school of thought is supporting this very same argument to say, no, men are so weak, you don't tell them the truth. Now, I want us to think about running a nation, because I want to juxtapose something that where you hear secrets and you hear things that are damning. You have damning information. Let's look at nations all over the world. Let's look at how many people are heads of state. And let's look at what's the ratio of women to men. Right?
Yeah.
You have majority men ruling over nations. And I can tell you, if just running a home, you're going to deal with, you discover this kid is not yours and all that stuff. When you're running a nation, someone wants to kill you, the other is poisoned, the other stole money, but he stole it for your party to win, and you're dealing with things. Okay?
I think he's talking to you.
Yeah? I am not pointing to any color here. I'm just saying. Right?
Always calling
I'm
it out
just
as
saying.
it is. Eh?
And so you find that there is so much that men are actually able to stomach. Let's leave running a nation. Let's look at running a business.
All right. Okay. If you look at
if
you look at it, okay. If you look at it, how about the benefits of the child?
Wait.
You see, the moment you tell Haj Khalifa that this is not your daughter, Haj Khalifa walks away, and you're single mom again.
Let me finish what I'm saying. So I think it's a fallacy for us to think that men can't hold it on their own. They can. You actually are able to take the worst of news and stay standing. Otherwise, when we lose people that we love, all men should have just collapsed into a heap of bones and died. But we don't die. So here's my point. I think that when you are living, especially in a relationship, there is a certain burden that secrets put on the person carrying them. Like Banji said, you need to maintain the secret.
His work, yeah.
Then you need to maintain every lie that keeps the secret.
And those who are...
And the more you want to maintain the secret is the more you lie. And now you need to keep the whole story of every lie to be consistent. The older the secret, the more you lie. Now, at some point, when someone is about to release your secret, because they will always find it out, you're going to get into murder. Because you have to kill to keep the secret. So you get into worse and worse scenarios in order to keep the secret. Why don't you use this very simple thing I got to hear about recently, which is called shift the weight? If you have a burden on your heart, don't die with it alone. Shift the weight. Tell someone, Mugambe Tomanyigwe, Ojaku Nsonyiwa. You know, there's this the thing of Bazukufu, and I'm not, when we're growing up, so back in the day, we were told there are local of different types. So there's those of us who are called Abebafu, and those who are called Abazuku. They walk. The ones who are reawakened. Now the ones who are reawakened would chukubao. Until when I was 15, this thing happened with a goat. So you have to deal with the goat information. If you stay standing, but the man is saying I changed. So you have to look at me as a changed man who wants whatever they got, or you go away. But at least I told you. So you shift the weight.
And Chris, I want to just call him maybe before you come in. I want to pick from what Chris is saying. There is a philosophy, I think, among my friends that appears to hold water somehow. That if you have a very deep secret, just break it into small pieces. You can come with a bang, but does the person have the capacity to hold the bang? So the other alternative you have is
how are you going to break that secret?
You learn. The man is telling
yes, the other trick you could use is to keep breaking this secret into small parts, and every time you give a small dose.
Like you said,
so you give a small dose. Okay. So because Albert, it would be very difficult for your wife or fiancé or your woman to come to you and say, you know what, Albert, this boy of 10 years is not yours.
Then how do you break that thing up?
And you will be surprised to know that most people who keep secrets actually want to tell the people, but they just lack the courage. So that's why when you confront them, they immediately shout and say, yes, it is true, yes, it is true, and I'm sorry. So
now we do have to get into a break, and as soon as we come back, we will pick that up. Now don't forget, we had the Pearl of Africa Hotel, and we want to hear from you. Go to our Facebook page, like it if you've not already done that, and talk to us. We also want to talk to you on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are right there at the bottom of your screen. Let's live chat during the show. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. In case you've just joined us, we're talking about secrets with a bias towards women. It was deliberate that we don't have a woman on the set because we're discussing as men. What do we want to hear and what do we not want to hear? So this is effectively a special edition for the ladies.
I want to jump in before you say. I haven't fixed my car. Break down that secret.
All right, let him tell us.
I was still explaining.
The professor is bringing.
So the whole idea is, the thesis is, now just look at myself, the way I'm designed. Now, if Madame pointed at my son and said, this nose looks like for Colin, she's already pointing me something. So tomorrow I will observe Colin and say, then I will say, but why do you say that nose resembles Colin? That's why sometimes you have to listen to what the madam is telling you. Those jokes they are hinting are not funny. They are telling you something. Actually, by the time they confess, they have told you 1 million times.
You just didn't get it.
You have just failed to understand. One time someone said that women are just a moving target. You always look for how to capture it. So even with secrets, my belief and my knowledge is that by the time your woman gathers the courage to tell you, she has told you 1 million times. Either when you are sleeping, she has confessed, then realized you can't understand it, or when you are drunk, for those who drink, or when you are showering, but because the water is flashing, you can't hear that. You are like, yeah. But she's trying to
She's
tell
only
you.
said it once, and the mouth cannot say it second time.
Yes. But honestly, I would want to know.
But Banji, then, in a way, then, can we then blame the men and say, to look at it twofold? First of all, if I'm not the kind of man who's approachable, such that my wife has done something wrong, okay, it's not about whose fault it was, I mean, but she's done something wrong, am I then supposed to be that kind of person who she can approach and tell me, you know what, Peter, this is the problem, right from the get-go? You said it earlier, the better. Or is it, if she can't approach me, does it mean it's my fault because I'm unapproachable?
Ideally, the whole philosophy of husband and wife of a relationship is that that's why you'll find that even the most dangerous soldiers have wives. They have learned how to manage them. Otherwise, lions, the male lions in the wild wouldn't be married, isn't it? They command a pride. But they are very dangerous. They kill stepchildren. But the lionesses are still managing them, isn't it? Yeah. So the whole idea is, however lion like your husband or fiancé is, manage how to tell them. And it also comes as a lesson for us men. Be approachable. Let your person be able to tell you the truth. So now, because I want to pick something before Colin you come in. Albert, the whole idea is, when someone is building a flat, this we on the 15th floor. Imagine if they had used Maram for building the first floor down. Would be at the risk of collapsing. So
but let me now tell you what people do here in Uganda. When you're building a 15th floor and you realize there's damage down, you don't go around telling the client, you know what, my client, we used the wrong kind of steel. Now, there's a problem. We cannot continue. No.
You fix it.
You either keep it to yourself and wait until it collapses, one, or two, you try to fix it.
Yes,
which you can't fix. You cannot.
That is the challenge.
Banji, can I help a little bit?
Yes.
Let me help a little bit. When you lose somebody, how do people in this country typically tell you? People don't usually say, tata wafude. That's not how they tell you. That's not how they break the news. The way they say is, man, your old man is very unwell. You need to go and see him. In fact, let's go now. So what they have put in your mind is that
already something
they're in a critical situation. In fact, in Muganda, they say, okumusanga, nobutamusanga. Right? So in other words, you could find that he's gone, but you go with half the hope that he might still be there. Yeah. What are they doing? They're telling you this is a near death or actual death scenario. Get ready. So then it doesn't come as a shock when you get there and the person has passed on, you're going to, of course, be hurt and cry and all that.
But you knew it was a
But
possibility.
you're not going to get a heart attack because of that. I think that is the wisdom of Banji and his friends of how do you unpack the thing. I've just told you a secret that I've just unpacked, how we tell people when someone has died. You start to create the expectation that something not seemly happened, and I'm really sorry about it. And so you're like, so what is it like? Oh, man, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. And it's like, so what is it that I can't forgive? I can't forgive anything.
The moment they say that,
But you see,
Colin,
one thing.
let me finish. You wanted to get an example, so let me give you. Okay. So someone layers it that way, and they say, I don't even know what I was thinking. I think it's because I had drunk or whatever, if they drink or whatever it is they say. So like, okay, so now you tell me, now this time you need to tell me what happened. Like, no, now is not a good time, I will tell you. But at least they've set you up, so by the time they come up with it and say, look, now here, you can hate me for all your life. In fact, you can even go away, but I love you too much not to tell you. This is what happened. So by the time they drop it, you've been prepared.
But Chris,
right?
Sorry,
I'm just giving an example because this unpacking thing, I have seen it happen.
Yes,
and in some cases it works. Now, it's not the one I use.
because in the 30 minutes.
But now, let me
Just
ask you
say
something. You see the thing is, and I get why Mr. Al is boiling. He's been itching. You see, that is in an ideal situation.
Which ideal?
We've always talked about the truth. The question is, how many people can handle the truth? Ideally, I'm in a perfect situation where you're told, this is a life-changing decision. I mean, this is a life-changing revelation.
Because Pete,
just hold on. And I want to put it in a situation where, now, here you are, as a lady, all right, fair enough, this thing, whatever happened. You're not happy about it. It eats you up. However, when you tell this man, okay, he's been the sole provider. He's going to kick you and the child out. What happens? Have you done justice to this child?
No. The question is, so what?
So what?
No, because guys, can I tell you something? Do you know why there have been all these brutal killings of a man comes to his family, butchers his wife, and all the kids? Do you know where this stuff comes from? It's in him not knowing. Then one day while he's out there drinking or wherever he is, this is a real story for me. There's a time we were at church. I was at a certain church in Najana Nkumbi. I was much younger. And we were in service. This tall man, he was a tall guy. He comes in, he was putting on a white shirt and green pants. And the buttons were open, and he had blood on his shirt. He's like, Muse. So we're like, what happened? The whole service, it just went up in smoke. Right? This guy had found his wife red-handed with a guy in their home. He was a big man, a massive man. He descended on the guy and did justice to him. What happened was blood. So then he sort of came to his senses, and then he runs to church, the only place where he knows there is refuge. Let me tell you something. So most people will react very badly to when they discover a secret as compared to when it is volunteered. Because at least there is some retribution, there's some...
I feel like all these things people are saying are sort of justifying why men should be kept secrets from this kind of reactions. It proves the point. And I think that you have to look at it personally. Loving a child is not loving a child today. It is when you encounter the news, loving a child is about the past, where they've come from, what they are today, but also what you hope that they'll become. There's all these plans. You want them to go to this school. You hope that they'll become this kind of individual. So you're essentially taking an entire lifetime experience out of a person's life.
So, Colin.
So wait. That's one. But two, and more critically, sometimes the child is not entirely the woman's fault. Sometimes, and you know how sensitive people are about, men being told that their guns don't shoot. He may not like that. He may rather you just give us airs and we're fine. Because you confronting him with the truth. And that's another thing, like I don't understand about our society. You can't tell your man that is impotent, but you force him to raise a child for 20 years who's not his, because you can't tell him, you know what, Mzee?
So,
yes.
As if he doesn't.
All right. No. I'll tell you what. A lot of men also don't know that they're impotent, and you know that, as like Colin has said, the lady may know that. How do you tell this guy? We talked about being approachable.
Have you heard of the guy who had been told all these kids were his? Then he gets a side dish. And they try to get a baby, and they are not. And when he finds out he can't shoot,
he comes before
he comes back and
causes chaos. And which is also another thing. Unfortunately, we're out of time, and we do need to wrap up. But it's the way the time.
Jump out of the building.
However, one of the things which I also want us to think about as we wrap up, is it fair? Because usually, if a man has 2-3 kids outside there, he's a man. Okay, a lady has. And he doesn't have to tell his wife. And even when she finds out, okay, yes.
No.
Yes.
No, man.
Yes.
Wait. But you have no children out there.
But you never know. But
that's why I say we should discuss that later.
But when it's the reverse, the woman is punished. Society punishes her. She becomes an outcast. How many women stay with their men when they find out that they have children outside? But the reverse?
Peter.
Your parting shot.
Peter? This is my parting shot. In this Uganda of ours, there are homes where things have been contained that you will never believe.
That's true.
There are homes where a woman has a child out of wedlock. It's discovered, discussed, she apologizes, and the family moves on, and you can't even tell apart those kids. What I am saying is, we should not glorify secrets. And we should not glorify this whole thing of we can't handle the truth. It's not true. There are so many homes, and if we're honest and we look around and you're listening, you ear to the ground, there are many homes where people have been able to say, look, I messed up and I am sorry. And they're able to forgive each other. Because the burden of keeping a secret for 30, 40, 50 years is so difficult on the person holding it, but also against the person you're holding it. It's really painful. It's betrayal. I think that bad news is not like wine. It doesn't get better with time. Serve it and then see what happens. Let the chips fall wherever they may, and then rebuild from that point, whatever happens.
Okay. Banji, have you changed your stance?
No, I haven't changed my position.
But
just I will first reflect on what you said. So the whole idea for me with if she has that child, no matter the circumstances, I think I need to know. Then I need to know. Then if my reaction is bad, she rebuilds and I rebuild. Rather than going to the 15th floor and then the house caves under. Okay? Because you cannot live a lie. I think it's what Chris is saying. Once you keep this secret, the energy you put in keeping this secret is too much. Too much. It is exhausting. For us, we have seen even people running mad because of the secret. And especially when someone whispers and says, I know you are secret.
You start imagining.
So you start imagining, tomorrow when I reach home, what will happen? So for me, and I'm looking directly at the ladies out there, if you have a secret, begin finding strategies of telling your husband. Such that if you build it from there and you stay together, you have nothing to hide. If things collapse, you go and start. Those are my parting shots.
Great stuff.
So me, I would want to know.
I'll be your parting shot.
Secret is a secret for a very big reason. One, who it benefits the most. Benefits. When you're keeping it and it's hurting you, it's actually not really benefiting you. If you love your child so much, and you know you have this kind of guy, who you, of course, you won't assume, but you just feel that if I tell this person, man, this child is out of the door, I'm out, me out of the door is okay, but the child, if you love the child so much, I believe, man, keep it. If the guy wants, if you want to find out your children, if men out there, if you want to find out if your children are yours, go do DNA tests. Just go do them. When they give a report, it's not yours, you can go and attack the doctor and everyone else. But you see, don't put, you see, once you start putting women under that pressure and so on, you're going, first of all, it's like you're telling the woman, you sell your child. You first put your child into the line of fire. Then for you, because it really doesn't hurt you, you're the one who opened your legs and stuff like that, it won't really hurt you. But you see, the child comes first in this thing. In this whole conversation, you're all looking at the woman and the secret. Look, the secret, if you can keep it, especially if you know you slept with a man, then your husband and the man was, if you know your secret is tight, intact, you're the core, you're the only one who knows, apart from the doctors that can do DNA
And the
tests.
man who did it.
Sometimes
that's
he
an
doesn't
assumption.
even know.
That's an assumption. He may not know. Very many men go spread seeds. Colin, tell them. So, but what am I saying here? If you're able to keep a secret, if you're able, just keep it.
Colin, your parting shot.
Colin, why are you looking surprised?
One day.
Because they have said you spread seeds.
No.
That is gospel.
Far be it from me too. I think that you must decide if you want to know. And if you want to know, then you take the necessary steps to find out. You know, you test the children, you do whatever.
But be prepared for
But
the
be
truth.
prepared to find whatever you find there. You know, you've awakened the monster yourself. To the women out there, I think it's also about, and we haven't explored this a lot, but the conditions that create the secret. I think that in revealing the secret and explaining the condition, you can find possibly a way through whatever situation you're going through. You can find a way through. Because sometimes the conditions are unexplainable. You can't explain to anyone. There's just no excuse why you do such a thing. You know, and there's so many examples for that. And so in closing, I think that you must make the decision, because in making the decision, you bear the consequences.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from us here tonight. Mine is very simple. It's a tough one. It really is a tough one. And at the end of the day, you know your spouse. I cannot tell you whether to or not to keep your secret. You know better. And just make the right decision. But ideally, just don't get into that mess. Have a good night from all of us here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel, and to the crew. Yes. It's been a long night. Have a good night and God bless.